What is up, YouTube? Today we're going to be looking at the top 8 lists from the North American International Championships that happened this past weekend. Now, the North American International Championships, for those of you who don't know, is the second largest tournament of the year. The largest being the World Championships. In terms of size, this is the largest. In terms of prestige, this is the second biggest. All the ICs are usually held in high regard, all 4 of them across the season, because world level competitors are usually in attendance. And well, if you look at a day 2 at one of these, well, you will see a lot of World Championship caliber players. So without further ado, let's start. We will have the world champion, or not world champion, oh wow, I mean it could be, I guess Azul could win. The NAIC champions list here, Azul Garcia piloting his Flying Pikachu Arceus deck. Now the thing with Azul's deck here is that it isn't the greatest deck in general against the field, but it has one of the strongest turn 1 and turn 2s of any deck. With 4 Marnie, 2 Research, being able to get all of your attackers in play, Arceus plus energy. There's so many outs to Arceus plus energy in this deck. The deck capitalizes on simply just using your 1 Crobat to dig and set up and get the ball rolling. Now, the one really interesting thing about Azul's list is this Phoebe that they played to deal with the Miltank decks. And while it wasn't like the best answer into everything, it kind of got the job done where it did. We saw it in the top 4 match against Sander, and this was the game-deciding card. In second place list was Isaiah Bradner playing his Palkia Centellion deck. I also played the same 60-card deck, so you can hear me talk more in depth about it in the other video that I put out. I'm a little bit more doomer in there, so check that out. Isaiah using 4 ear to 4 pass and 4 cross switcher to expert collusion to have all of these things work together. A very consistent list that has basically everything you could want in it. And I mean, Palkia is one of the most skill-intensive mirror matches that you could be playing in this format. So Isaiah understanding completely the merits and the balance of that. In third place, we had the, I think, coolest deck and maybe the best deck for the event in general. This Mewtwo V-Union deck piloted by Sander, using 4 Snorlax and the Meowths to kind of discard your hand down. Put everything in a discard because you're not playing out of the discard at some point. Using the 2 Miltanks, the 2 Yveltals, and the Pukamuku to kind of just buy time and win the game. And then eventually you have your Mewtwo V-Union to come in, which heals 200 damage. And then, you can just start swinging for 300 or 16 damage counters as you choose. You have the Research, the Silence to put stuff back, the Yell Cheer to guarantee that you get your Silence back, and then the Pal Pads to put the Silence back. So it's an endless loop, but yes, it is something where you need to flip heads a good bit to kind of keep things going. Like maybe you need like 1 in like 16, like if you get like 0 for 16 heads or something, then your loop of Cheer, Silene, Pal Pads disappears. But you have all 3 of these, like all 5 of these pieces to keep the loop going until worst case scenario happens. And then you have all these like other tech supporters that help you heal, like Cook, and you have Avery, Flannery, Boss, Sydney, just disruption supporters. So probably the coolest deck to come out of the tournament. Sander losing in top 4, unfortunately. And then we have in fourth place, Brian Kim playing the exact 60 cards that Justin Kulas and company played in Milwaukee. You can see it there on the Limitless page. Brian playing Arceus Centellion. A very just straightforward standard list that is stock. Like this is just everything is here. You have all the pieces you need to recover. I will just out heal you is what Brian said in his game plan, and it worked out really well until top 4 where he ran into Isaiah. And then we had Gustavo Wada in 5th place piloting his Palkia list, which was a little bit more unique than the one we saw earlier, with only 3 copies of Irida, playing 1 copy of Leon to extend in the mirror match to get that to those numbers, 1 copy of Quick Shooting as well, no Zigzagoon, a Crobat to go deeper in the deck, because your turn 1 is probably your hardest turn for this deck. So rather than opting to do what Isaiah did and playing heavy battle VIP pass, Gustavo opted to play a Crobat V to dig deeper and have your setup be good. Now, on top of that, Gustavo played 1 copy of Rare Candy to get into the Shady Dealings Centellion quicker, or even go into the Quick Shooting Centellion if that called for it. 1 copy of Tool Jammer and a copy of Training Court. Most notably, Gustavo was not playing any Path to the Peak, giving him a significantly worse Mew matchup than, the list traditionally has. But you have the Leon to one-shot a Mew VMAX, like a Horn plus Leon plus Choice Belt. Like you have that combination to one-shot a Mew VMAX. So I think Gustavo was banking on those aspects to kind of carry his game plan. And then in 6th place, we had Noah Yoshida playing Palkia as well. This one's more of a stock list as well, with the 4-3 Palkia, the 4-3-2-1 Inteleon line, a very thick Inteleon line. No Goon here, nothing special. 4 Irida, 2 Melanie, 1 Boss, 1 Roxanne. No Marnie, no research, nothing to speak of here. The 4 switchers have also made their way into this list, and the 1 pass, as we see. There's 2 captures for Noah, making sure his setup is pretty good, and there's a rare candy as well, just making it so he can kind of access his 2 Shady Dealings Inteleons and the quick shooting early if he wants to. And the rest of the list just screams consistency, and the Roxanne and the Path, obviously, to give ourselves a chance against the Mew deck. And then in 7th place, we have Yuriko Valencia, piloting another RC Centellion list. This one is a little more, a couple more tech cards than we saw in Noah's list. Not Noah. In Brian's list, sorry, Brian Kim's list. We had the only 2 Inteleon Shady Dealings, no quick shooting here. We have the 2 Marnie. We have only 1 Melanie and a Raihan here. We also have 1 copy of Avery, which is a card that I guess not too many people like play around, but Avery is a very strong card. Also the Ordinary Rod and Palpad making its way into the deck. We have the Choice Belt here in the deck that we didn't see in Brian Kim's list. The Choice Belt giving us more damage. I think until this point, Choice Belt plus Zigzagoon was pretty stock in these kinds of decks, and well, we don't see the Goon, but we do have the Choice Belt. So it is the damage getting us from 200 to 230 if the need is there, or 180 to 210 if the RCS can, capitalize on using something for 210. Rather than playing 2 Big Charm like some of these other lists did, Yuriko opted to play a 1-1 split and then 2 Path 1 Collapse Stadium as well. We also see Capture Energy here, giving Yuriko a much better turn 1 setup with this list that he has going for him. Also, no 1 copy of Research and 2 copies of Marnie, also very interesting. Choosing to capitalize on the Marnie more with 4 quick, 4 level as well. Now, finally, to round out our top 8 list, we have Steven Rusco playing another stock standard Inteleon list. RCS Centellion list, Steven Rusco playing a Starmie to kind of punish your opponents in the mirror match if they choose to go super ham, or even in like Palkia or something like that. Also a card to kind of get, another card to get through Miltank potentially is there. Then we have 2 Melanie, 2 Marnie, 2 Sharons, 2 Boss, a very consistent 2-2-2-2 down the line, kind of adopting this philosophy of we'll just play 2 copies of every card that are consistent to make sure that we have outs to them at any given point. 4 quick, 3 ultra, 3 level, just very consistency cards. And a very interesting thing about Steven's list is that he played 2 Ordinary Rod and 2 Palpad. Now, 2 Ordinary Rod is interesting because you get to recycle these energies very frequently if you choose to do so, but the 2 Palpad is very cool because now this gives you access to 6 copies of Sharon's Care if you choose to have it, or 3 or 4, like 6 copies of Melanie, 6 copies of Marnie, even like 3 copies of Roxanne if you need it. I doubt you'll ever need the 3 copies of Roxanne because you're probably losing in that scenario, or you've already won. But the 6 copies of Sharon's Care, I think, is what is the most important part about this deck. So that rounds out our top 8 at the North American International Championships. Thank you guys for watching and supporting me as always. We'll have the vlog up by tomorrow. And appreciate you guys for watching always.